We're going to switch now to looking at direct and partial variations in questions that are not word problems. So you can see here in this question, this is a partial variation because you have the rate of change here and the initial value here. But it's not a word problem. So because it's not a word problem, we're not just limited to the first quadrant where there's only positive values. We're also going to be looking at the fact that there would be negative values as well. There are different ways to graph these equations, and today we're going to go over the method of using a table of values. So the first thing is you want to identify the rate of change, which when it's not in a word problem, we just refer to as the slope. So here, the slope is -3/4. What you're going to be doing is picking 3 values of x to put into the table. But if the slope is a fraction, you want to choose x values that are a multiple of the denominator. So in this case, the denominator is equal to 4. So you want to pick multiples of 4. So I would say 0, 4, and 8. It doesn't really matter which values of x you choose, but it makes the math a lot easier if you can pick values of x that are multiples of the denominator. Otherwise, if there is no denominator, you can just pick the values 0, 1, and 2. Then what you're going to do is substitute each of these values of x into the equation to calculate the y value. So for the first one, it's going to be -3/4 times 0, because you're going to take the x value of 0 and substitute it in for the x, and then plus 5. And you can use your calculator or you can use your mental math. -3 times 0 is 0. 0 divided by 4 is 0. And then 0 plus 5 is 5. So that means your x value is 0 and your y value is 5. So 1 point on the graph is 0, 5. The next x value is 4. So we're going to substitute that in. -3/4 times 4 plus 5. Again, use your calculator or your own mental math. -3 times 4 is -12. -12 divided by 4 is -3. Plus 5 is equal to 2. Or to do this part here, you can just take the 4 divided by 4, and that makes 1, and then multiply it by -3. That still makes -3 plus 5 is 2. So your x value is 4 and your y value is 2. The last one is 8. So -3/4 times 8 plus 5. Calculator or mental math. -3 times 8 is -24. -24 divided by 4 is -6. -6 plus 5 is -1. Or you could do it this way. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 times -3 is -6. Plus 5, you still get -1 either way. So your third point is at 8, -1. Now what you're going to do is plot the 3 points and join the 3 points with a straight line using a ruler, and make sure you go from edge to edge on the grid. Our first point is 0, 5, so that point is here. Our next point is 4, 2, and that point is here. And then 8, -1 is there. And then when you join these 3 points using a straight line with a ruler. And making sure it goes from edge to edge. So it has to go all the way to this edge and all the way to that edge. Now a straight line, you really only need to plot 2 points, but we use 3 just to be sure. So if the 3 points do not form a straight line, then you have not done something correct and you want to go back and look. Last thing you just need to know is that if you are plotting more than one line on a grid, you have to label each line. So this is only one line, so we don't need to label it. But if you were putting more than one line on a grid, then you would have to label it with the equation. So that should say more than one line on a grid. So that is just the first way to graph a direct or a partial variation that is not a word problem, and that is using a table of values. Very similar to the table of values that you used when you graphed direct and partial variations when they were word problems.